MR.KOA.
We need to talk.
We need to talk.
We need to talk. We need to talk.
We need to talk.
Alright, so for those of you who've been to the last couple shows, or even one of the shows, you'll know that I like to start with an icebreaker. Do you guys all know the game Never Have I Ever? Yes? Okay, so how the game works for those who don't know, if there's even one person that knows how to play, I'm going to tell you guys all how to play again. Everyone starts with their hands up, right? Never have I ever basically means I'm going to ask a question. When your hands are up, if that question doesn't apply to you, you keep them up. If it does apply to you, you put it down, right? So for example, a question could be, never have I ever, ate pizza. So if everyone's hands are up and you have eaten pizza, you put your hand down. Simple? Makes sense? Cool, let's start.
So everyone just start with your hands up right now.
Please. All right, so, oh yes, and keep your hands up. There's a question box. Those of you who came early and we're rolling through, you guys have asked some questions and put some questions in here. We want it to be anonymous for a specific reason that if you're here with your man or your friend or your girl, and there's a question that you want to ask, you're not going to ask while they're looking at you, but you may ask anonymously and be like, this question's for me. So we wanted to make it very, anonymous and neutral, that if you felt away, if you're dealing with something, yeah. So we're gonna go through these questions periodically throughout the show. Guys, where your triceps at? Holy. All right. First question. Never have I ever taken someone's number knowing I'd never use it. Really? So every number that you've taken, you've used. God damn. Wow. That is a nice guy.
I don't get it.
No damn well no contact.
Hands back up.
No, question. You may have used a number, but did she use the number back to you? Did you respond?
I gotta throw him on the bus like that.
Okay, move on.
He used the number. That's all that matters. He used it.
Okay,
she gave it, he used it. Second question. Hands back up again. Never have I ever forgotten someone's name right after they told me. You have a good memory. That is a very good memory right there. The rest of us are goldfish, clearly. All right, a little more spicy. Never have I ever. Oh, sorry, hands back up, please.
Hands up.
Never have I ever had sex on the first date.
What? If you've had sex on the first date,
if you have had sex on a first date, if you have had sex on the first date, then drop your hands. If you have had sex on the first date, drop your hands. If you have slapped someone the first time you met them, put your hands down. Okay. Sick. Nice. Hands back up, please. Thank you.
Whores, all of you.
Hands back up, please. Couple more questions. Never have I ever had sex in the same room as other people. Have you ever had sex in the same... Yes. Have you ever had sex where other people are also having sex in this room? So, it's about half. So some of y'all are freaks and some of you guys are boring, basically. That's cool. Boring's not cool though, but that's cool. I'm sorry?
I'm the host. I'm gonna raise my hand for shit.
My hand is going down.
Next question.
Okay, hands back up, guys. Sorry. Couple more, almost done. Never have I ever been with a friend's old thing. What I mean by that is any of your friends that used to talk to someone and now you talk to that person. So some of you have. If we're defining friend, you know the fuck you did.
No, what? Hold on. This was the same thing last show.
We always ask that.
There's always a girl that's like, define friend.
You know who your friends are. Come on now.
Define friend. All of a sudden, you don't know what a friend is.
2 more questions before you get into the show. Hands back up, guys. I know your triceps are weak. That's okay. Settle down, ladies, please. Thank you. Never have I ever considered dating my partner's friends. Have you ever, in your mind, been dating somebody and met their friends and said, fuck, I caught the wrong one? Have you ever done that? A lot of hands are down. Wow. You literally looked at your partner and been like, why did I meet you first? That's real. That's real. Okay, last question. Never have I ever ate ass. If you have eaten ass, put your hands down. If you've eaten an asshole, please put your hands down. No judgment though. No judgment. Alright, cool. Alright, we won. We won. Sick.
I'm not sharing drinks with some of you guys.
Do you want to start with these questions? Do you want to start with what you want to talk about real quick?
Yeah, okay. You know what? I feel like the first thing we need to talk about is this whole Aisha Curry thing.
Okay, cool. Let's talk.
Wow, these are some responses.
Let's talk. Has everyone heard about the Aisha Curry comment? It's not a thing. I'm not gonna call it a thing. The Aisha Curry comment. If you haven't heard of it, basically Aisha Curry is the wife of Stephen Curry in the NBA, playing for the Golden State Warriors. Stephen Curry is a very good athlete, one of the best athletes in the NBA, making a lot of good money, and she is an NBA wife, which is a tough job for some people. Some people feel it's amazing, your husband's NBA, blah, blah. And some people feel it's a very tough job to be a celebrity's wife. Now, Aisha Curry basically was on the Red Table Talk with Jada, and she said that, not that I'm looking for it, but sometimes I just want attention, like just to know that that I want it, you know? Like not that I really want the guys, but like Steph's in the NBA, like girls always throw themselves at him, and like I have to deal with that, like, you know, which is it's just a reality, and it's a tough thing for girls to have to just kind of deal with. And we've understood that, like, most people understand, like we've all heard that phrase of like, well, you know, you kind of asked for this, you know what I'm saying? Like we've had that phrase like, you decide to date a celebrity, like that's what comes with it, like. That's not fair to say, that's not fair to do, but she basically is in a feeling or in a situation where she feels like, you know, because Steph has all this glory and has all this attention and whatever all the time, she's just kind of like Steph's wife and nobody looks at her. Now, there's a lot of flack she's gotten from it because people are like, oh, like, why are you looking for attention from other guys? Like, you're married, you know? Some people were like, oh, like, why do you want, like, she's a Toronto team, that's why she's like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of shit she's getting from it. Now, question to you guys is, I personally understand what she is saying. I don't necessarily feel that a woman or a wife or whatever should feel like that. However, I also do feel that for her to feel that way, there may or may not be something Steph is or is not doing, correct? No?
No, I disagree.
I said may or may not and is or is not. So, which means I'm on no side. Just so you guys understand. But what do you guys think about that situation? Do you feel that is a justified feeling for a woman to feel that she needs attention from other, not needs, but would require or like attention from other men that shouldn't actually want, but kind of just wants that, you know, reassurance that I'm fucking hot still? Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, so there's sort of two fronts to this. First of all, it's natural. You know, I think a lot of women they sort of equate the sense of value in their perception of other people, whether they're attractive or desired. So it would make sense that she would be a little insecure if it is the sort of thing where she's being exposed every day. She sees, you know, these women courtside and just, you know, women are basically throwing themselves at him on a regular basis, married or not. Meanwhile, you know, I think just based on the fact that she's a wife, and a lot of people sort of have some sort of conception of their relationship with each other. They're not, you know, she's not gonna get the same sort of attention because she's not on his level of stardom and you know, recognition. So I think that it's natural, but on the other hand, yeah, like it's as a wife, when you've I appreciate that she was honest, and I think she was innocent in what she was saying. There wasn't any bad intentions, and I think it wasn't so. It really is the fact that she wasn't interested in having that attention, but the validation was something that she recognized was something that was sort of missing. I definitely think that it's something that they need to sort of hash out and talk about, and sort of it happens. I think she just had a bit of a slip up, and she just needs to sort of get sorted out on it, and they probably sorted it out. They're best friends, right? So.
Actually, I just wanted to add on to that. Personally, I think that, like, I had no issue with what Aisha was saying, because forget the whole stardom thing. I think if you honestly just think about the fact that, like, as a woman, she has 3 kids, right? Yeah. So I think it's totally natural for, I mean, look, I'm not a woman, so I don't know, but like, I'd assume that if you, after pregnancy, there's some part of a woman that would probably think about her quote-unquote like sexiness at that point, right? Which I completely empathize with that. Like I think that's really what the core root of the issue is. I think the reason why it became such a thing on social media is because she mentioned Steph and what he's going through with all these women approaching him.
She compared it.
Yeah, like which I still understand. Right. But my thing is, like, if she hadn't, let's just say, for the sake of the argument, she never brought up Steph and the fact that women were always throwing themselves at him. And all she said was, after having 3 kids, there are times where I question, like, whether or not I'm still beautiful. I don't know if men are still looking at me. I don't think people would be jumping down her throat the way that they are now. So that's one aspect of it, of how I look at it. The other, for me, like, personally, is, like, 2 things. One, like, for the women in here, like, when you look at Steph Curry, is he, like a sexual item to you guys? Like, no. Okay, he's
just a grown-ass cute man.
Thank you. That's what, okay. So my point is, like, for me, when I heard that situation, initially, I'm like, okay, I get what she's trying to say, but I can guarantee you that, I'm not gonna say all, but like most women that are throwing themselves at Steph, I don't think they're doing it because they're like, man, this guy is so sexy. I think it's like they know the status that he's in, right? So that's why they're throwing themselves at him. And I felt bad because that's her man, so no matter what, she's gonna look at him like, most women aren't looking at him like that, right? They're looking at him for his status. And then the other thing is, if I'm being honest, and like, this is my hot take on the situation. I was like, Aisha, the reason why, like, I think a lot of guys aren't looking at you is because you're like perpetually pregnant, which I'm gonna be honest, like, I'm not physically attracted to pregnant women, like, while they're pregnant, as I think most men aren't. So I'm like, it's not that I don't think you're a good-looking woman, Aisha. It's just, for as long as I can remember, you've always been pregnant. So that's just like my blunt answer on that, So.
Any opinions from a female? Yes.
Just to say, when you brought up Steph, is because I think it was an imbalance. Remember, they've been together since high school.
Yeah.
So it was always Aisha and Steph. And as he built up his career and became this basketball player, it's all Steph. And now it's kind of like, what about me? Where it was always Aisha and Steph, she said it, I think, in the interview. She doesn't like when she has to introduce herself. She wants to be remembered as part of this group, and now she's kind of been left by. So it's not even just other guys looking at her. She's lost attention altogether because her husband is so prominent. So there's an imbalance in the relationship as well.
That's fair,
Marlon, you have a question, sir?
Oh, no.
Or a comment?
I was just giving some context.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
A lot of people online, if you don't use Twitter, you probably wouldn't know. But in the past, Aisha Curry has, like, gotten at women who dress however they want to dress, basically, right? So I think a lot of it is also that.
Yeah.
So you gotta, like, look at that.
You think people are oh yeah, because I remember seeing people, like, bringing up old tweets of her just basically saying, like, I don't understand, like, why all these women dress this way. I'd rather, like, cover up the goods kind of situation.
And then she says that about the woman talking to Steph Curry. So it's like, she kind of wants that attention, but doesn't want it in that way.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know.
Cool. Justin?
First off, I don't think anyone else's name was, given out to the public, so I was wondering why mine was.
Mine was just now.
Anywho, I just wanted to pose a question because I seen this question online and I thought to myself, and I was like, and this is to the women, and I guess we could address it to the men too. How would you guys feel if Steph Curry was the one who said the things that Ayesha Curry said? If he was on that talk show and he said, you know what, I truly love, hold on, hear me out. He said, hold up, you know what, I truly love my life. I have a beautiful wife, I have 3 kids, I'm a basketball player, or let's say he was a novelist or whatever he is. I truly love my life. I have a great career, I have a wife, I have 3 kids, but you know what? I want attention from other women. What would you guys think if he said that and Ayesha Curry was the one on the receiving end of that?
Someone be honest, please.
I think it's different.
Someone behind me said a cheater.
That's different though. That's different.
That's an honest assumption, right?
It's not the same though.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
What's
That's not the same. Like you guys talked
The
about
scenario is not the same?
Yeah, because you guys talked about like the pregnancy, right?
Correct.
Like that's a huge factor. You
For her
can't-
feeling.
You gotta factor in societal standards of women's beauty, fucking pregnancy, all that shit. It's not the same.
That's true, I agree. And one other point I'd like to make. For people who've been in relationships for a long time, I was one of them, and still am. But sometimes, just clearing that up.
Nice save.
Exactly. So listen. Exactly. So just clearing that up. Anyways, it's not only women that go through things like these. If you've been in a long relationship and you're with a partner at any point in time, it's possible that you could still feel the same way that Ayesha Curry or other men or women could possibly feel. Because you've been so out of tune with what else is happening in society. You're not going to the clubs, you're not openly on Instagram, you're not on Twitter, you're not showing things that would today normally get you attention from other people. So now you might be thinking to yourself, you know what, maybe people don't, maybe I'm not attractive, or maybe I'm not as attractive as I used to be. I'm only getting attention from my spouse. So the same feelings could be displayed or felt by men. So in a sense, I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but I've heard husbands complain. My wife got pregnant, I gained 30 pounds. This happened, I put on weight.
Right.
So I'm saying like things like that you have to still take into consideration. And it's funny that we think if Steph Curry was on the receiving end, we'd all be bashing him and saying, well, this guy's a cheater, or this guy's this, or what's wrong with this guy? He has everything in the world, and he still wants attention from other people.
Right.
Just my 2 cents.
No, thank you.
I just think that it's like human nature to be desired regardless.
Yeah.
If you are getting ready, doing your hair, makeup, getting a lineup, whatever, it's because you want to look presentable and desired by people. So I think that what she was saying, like when she said it, I was like, girl, but like I feel like she was in a vulnerable place when she said it. She's very, delivery wasn't great, and I think it was like she just wore her insecurity like on her sleeve, and it's like I think it could have been worded better, but it's like when you date someone, I know a lot of guys like when their girl like looks good and other guys are looking at them because it makes them feel nice. Because it's kind of like, oh, like my girl looks good, like that makes me look good. So she just kind of wants to be attractive to, not necessarily to get like attention and whatever it is from other men, but I think she just kind of wants to be desired and know that people are kind of looking at her twice. Because I know that, like, if I'm walking down the street and I kind of look bummy, nobody's really looking my direction. But if I look like a hot gal, like I'm getting honks, this, that, and the other, you feel nice about yourself. So I think it's just like a natural kind of human instinct, removing like gender roles and all that kind of stuff. People want to look good, and I think people just want to be attracted to whoever they're attracted to. So I don't think that what she was saying was wrong at all. I think we're all guilty of wanting to look good and desired by who we might see as attractive or just people in general. It's kind of like having someone kind of lust after you, kind of like a self-fulfilling kind of a thing. So.
The interesting thing with that is like, I think, okay, we've definitely talked about this on previous podcasts, but there's this thing where as a guy, I know that I said it before, like if you date a girl that like you know is quote unquote hot or good looking, you just have to be okay with the idea that like bare man's gonna hit on her, like when you're not around her. But like that's kind of, Yes and no. Like, I'll be honest, like, it doesn't make me feel good knowing that Bear Man's gonna hit on my girl when I'm gone. Like, I don't look forward to that, right? But, you know, like,
That's what I want.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Yes. Keep asking her for a number. Yes, please.
You know, like, that doesn't excite me. But the truth is, I accept it because I know that's just a reality that comes with a woman that's good looking. And I feel like you're right. Like, if I was to say that as a man, like, it's easy for me to just say, you know what, like, I know my girl's good looking, so a lot of guys are gonna approach her. But I feel like a lot of guys will look at me weird if I said that same statement and then said, but I wonder, like, I just want girls to, like, look at me, kind of thing. Yeah, some men will probably look at me like, ah, you need to chill, like, relax, you know what I mean? So it is, like, it does have a lot to do with, you know, societal norms and what we have nowadays. And, like, you know what, like, I do credit her for being open and honest about how she feels. I'm pretty sure Steph actually posted something about it on his story, and then he like cooked Houston. So I mean, like, it is what it is.
I have a point I want to kind of piggyback on that. It's a little different, but also kind of in the same realm of what we're talking about. I find relationships very interesting, to say the least, but I feel we all do it, is the fact that when we get to a certain point, we stop dating that person. You know what I mean? And I feel like I don't know how we get to a point where we can continue doing that. Like what like all of us have done it. When we first met the person in the first few months, first few year, whatever, we're going on these dates, we're enjoying, we're like, yeah, please me, you're doing this, like, yo, let me take you here, let me do this, let me wow you. You know what I mean? Like we have that that desire to get the girl, to get the guy, right? At first. And then it's like when you get them, it's like, all right, cool, like I got you. Like, all right, like we do this thing, we'll do this thing, we'll go out sometimes, like whatever. But like we lose this like desire to date them, you know? Because you have them. So it's like, why aren't you still like, yo, I set this up, let's go do some shit, yo, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why don't we still have that like, yo, like you free tonight? Like, yeah, let's do that. Like we lose that like little suave to us now that we get the girl, get the guy, you know what I mean? Like, but I feel like that's a very important thing to why relationships fail these days, because once that buzz is gone, we're like, yo, like, you're boring now. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, we're excited when we're like, girls like, yo, I'm outside. You're like, yeah, right now? I'm like, yeah. Now it's like, yo, come over, I'm at home. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, come outside. Nah, man, like, just come. Like, we just become like, just, you come. Like right? Like, we all get there. And I feel like it's important to try and keep that dating alive, you know? For those of you guys who have been following this podcast for some time, I have been in a relationship, I have been out of a relationship, I have been back into a relationship of someone else. Now I am out of a relationship. Yes, I am out of it. Yes. Yeah. So I am no longer with the person I was with before. You guys know. If you guys know I was with, you guys know. I'm not gonna. There's no point in me saying anything else with this. But we're not gonna do that. But you guys, if you guys are here. You guys know who I was with. Like, it's dumb to do that. But yeah. So I'm not with her anymore, and it was tough to do that because for you guys who do know how I got in a relationship with her and the story of her moving here and all that, like it was a lot, right? And we get into this feeling of, I feel like the best way to explain it is we all grow at different paces, right? We all grow at different speeds, different levels, and I think the most common mistakes we make is that we often fall in love or fall in like, or whatever you want to call it, with the idea of a person, right? So it's like, this is what I think this person is. This is what I like this person to be. This is what they seem like. So yeah, let's do this shit. You know what I mean? Like, it makes sense. This all makes sense. The numbers all line up like this, or the same things. You're cool, you're cool. Like everyone, like, oh, it makes sense. We date people because it makes sense, right? We often, this makes sense, so I date. Rather than, is this right for me? Or does this make sense for me, right? They're two very different things, right? And I feel with her, a lot of things made sense, and they were easy to do, and it kind of fell into place, and the idea sounds great, and I would also like that too, and we are aligned on a lot of different things. Now, many of you guys may have heard that you don't know someone until you live with them, right? We all say that. You don't know nobody until you live with them. Nah, if I live with my girl, it'd be perfect, it'd be the same. Like, when'd you live with her? No, you like. But every time we hear that, we're like, nah, like, why would anything change? Like, it would be the same. Like,
Dog, I look dead in my girlfriend's eyes.
oh yeah, because the more girlfriend Jamie's here. But I'm not getting into their business, but I'm sure they feel the same way at some points too. Like they're living together now, and I'm sure you're not gonna agree with everything. That's normal. But there's this conception where like, things are good when we're together, things are good when we're seeing each other, things are good when we go on dates, things are good with the family, things are good, like all these things are good when we live together. Like what could really change? Like we're just living together. Like I'm just seeing you more. Like that's what it seems like in thought process, right? All I'm now, instead of me having to wait till you're free, you're just home. That's sick, right? That's great. You're just here every day. This is amazing. Like that's what it becomes. But at first we think, like, yeah, this is sick. Like I used to like eating for you. I used to wish that like you're always busy. I can never see you. And like now you have them, right? But the problem with that, and I'm not gonna say problem. I guess the effect of that is when you live with somebody, they can't hide, and neither can you, right? You can't hide anything, and not that you're trying to hide stuff, but you can't even, like, things like privacy it almost doesn't exist, and it's so strange because you're like, you still need to have privacy, like you need it. You know what I mean? Regardless if you live with someone, you're married, dating, whatever, you need privacy. Like it's so important, and depending on the person you're living with, they may feel that, no you don't, right? And it's just, that's what they think, right? And you feel like, well, I'm living with you, what's private? What can't I see? And you get that like vibe of like, no, like, there's a difference, and I've said this before.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Go ahead,
like,
go for it.
I was gonna ask him, like, on one of our previous podcasts, we talked about this exact topic.
Right.
Like, okay, like, I wanna ask you guys a question. If you think, like, do you believe there's a difference between privacy and, like, secrecy? Yeah. Right?
What is the difference? Someone name one, please. Just what is the difference? Someone just say something. Why is privacy different from secrecy?
Secrecy is intent.
Sorry, Sarah?
Secrecy is intent.
Versus?
Your secrecy is when you're ashamed, you're making an intent to keep that thing secret.
Versus?
Is just my space. It may not necessarily, what I'm doing may not necessarily be a secret,
right?
but I want to do it by myself.
Okay. You got a point, Marlon?
No, I just said solitude.
Oh, solitude. Okay. Yeah, exactly. And I feel when those lines get blurred, it becomes very toxic, right? And to this day, I can't say a bad thing about her, but what I did realize was what I liked about her when we first started dating, and it was on top of it, it was distance. We started off long distance, which makes it even more difficult because now what I technically did was base a real life relationship off of a long distance connection, which is inaccurate, right? It's highly inaccurate because when you're doing long distance, it's a fairy tale. It's a vacation, right? It's a honeymoon. You're like, when I get to see you, I'm all about you, and you're all about me, and then until next time, right? Like next time on the show, like it's a show, right? It's like the best of me, the best of you in these moments for a week, a month, whatever, and then back to your life, right? And back to your life, and then we talk on the phone, blah, blah, blah. Now when you fuse that, I guess, heightened attraction and heightened connection with somebody into now a permanent physical connection, there's a lot of, I guess, differences, and the dynamic is very altered, right? And a simple thing, like, it's not even to bash her, like, my work ethic is very high, personally. Like, I have a very high work ethic, sometimes super high that I don't sleep, but I have a very, very high work ethic. And when she was long distance, I also believed that she did, because that's what she told me, right? So, okay, like, if that's what someone says to you and you can't see them, if someone's like, yo, I'm busy with this, you're like, oh, say she's busy, yo, go do that. Oh, I gotta call you, I'm so busy. Oh, yeah, go. You know what I mean? And I'm turned on by that. I'm like, yo, she's busy all the time. Like, yo, this is sick. You know what I mean? Like, I'm busy all the time. She's busy all the time. Like, yeah, like, I can never get a hold of her. Like, you You know what I mean? Like, I love that, bro. I honestly, I love that shit. Whereas I'm
Bro,
like,
you're sick, bro.
why am I? Anyways, I'm being honest. Like, I personally
Don't make it me, baby.
I'm wired different. I'm wired different, and that's okay.
Let me see that busy schedule.
You got a calendar? Is that calendar full?
There's no white spaces in there. I like it.
You want to build with, right?
Yeah.
So,
Add me to that Google
well,
calendar.
you're attracted to somebody you want to build with, right?
Correct.
So it only makes sense that, you know, if you're working hard to build towards something,
Right.
you're attracted to the same effort, the same effort from,
Correct.
reciprocating effort from that person.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean I don't want to see you. It doesn't mean I don't want to spend time. It's just I'm generally highly attracted to people who bust their fucking ass. Like, that's just me. That's just how I'm wired. And for me, when it was long distance, the illusion that I got, which it wasn't an illusion, was she's just as busy as me because they're on the phone. If someone says I'm busy, you're like, what? I don't know what your busy is. Like, I don't know your version of busy. Like, my capacity and what I think is a lot for me and what you think is a lot for you can be two extremely different things, right? Now, we live together, right? Now, I can see everything, right? So, you can't lie, right? You can't, so that became a very, I guess, a kind of a hitch in our relationship, a kind of like a dinger. Like there's, it jabbed me a little bit, but I was like, you know what? I can't tell you, if you believe in your head what you're doing is a lot, if you actually believe that's a lot, I can't tell you that's not enough, right? Like I don't have the right to tell you that, and I can't tell you that. How can I say do more? You're like, this is my max. And I'm like, do more though, but this is my max.
But you know what? Like, just to play devil's advocate, like,
Yeah.
you really do have like a sickening work ethic, right? Like if I'm just being blunt,
No,
your work ethic is sickening. Like you work a lot. I don't think it's a problem. Like for me, I like it. Like I like what you do. I admire it. But I think you kind of have to understand that, you know, like 90% of the people like don't work like you do, right? So I think.
And just to clarify, I'm not necessarily asking someone to match my work ethic because I know I'm exceeding. Like I know I'm not the average, but like it's not that I'm saying match what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's things that come with being with me. For example, like I can never expect someone to match everything I'm doing, but if you're with me, like what's going to happen is I'm going to motivate you. I'm going to say, okay, what's the most you can do? Okay, so do that, right? Always. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna say do what I'm doing. Like that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for do what I'm doing. It's just like if this is your max, keep doing that, right? Like so if I'm sorry. Question? Talk? No? Just words? Okay. Yeah, like I'm not asking for someone to match my work ethic because I know that's not reasonable sometimes, right? But I'm generally turned on by someone who's working their hardest consistently because I know I am. And when I don't see that, it turns me off. It really does. And I can't pretend. I just can't pretend. Like you guys listen to me, I'm fucking raw. Like I can't pretend. And when I can't pretend, instead of me being rude, and instead of me being, you know, I don't want to be a parent. I don't want to be that like, did you do some work today? Like, I don't want, I'm your boyfriend, right? Like I don't want to be the guy that's like, what did you search today? Did you work on something? Like, I never want to be that, right?
So like, question for audience, like, has anyone here been in a long distance relationship?
Some of you, yeah, okay.
For those of you that have been in those relationships, like, and then you come together, did you consider, like, was there a moment where you're like, okay, I have to make this relationship work now because we came together after this long distance? No? You were just like, it is what it is? Because I've always wondered, like, being
like unnecessary pressure of like, we gotta do this now?
Yeah.
No one's felt that? Like, now that you actually can, like, you're dating someone long distance, you finally get to see them, now you're like, now that you're here, like, whether I still feel same way or not, I'm here now. Like, no one ever felt that? Huh?
I think it's kind of, well, it was long distance, just like you said, right? Your time away is your privacy time, pretty much, right? So when you put it together, right, your privacy time is gone, and then you're trying to find things that would work together. So for example, I like to play video games. Guys like to play video games, right? She didn't really like to play video games, but I bought Monopoly on my PS4. Guys, do you have Monopoly on your PS4?
Red flag number one.
You go get the board game, right? You go get the board game. But
It's
I
a way
tried
to
to make it work,
combine it,
right?
right?
So we both played PS4, but I got bored. I'm not gonna play Monopoly the whole time. But that's what it is. You're always trying to find things. The next thing, what I like to do is also go to the gym, right? So trying to get her to go to the gym was kind of like a task. Her running speed was my walking speed.
Yeah. I feel you.
So it was kind of hard. You're always trying to find things that work together after you come from a long distance relationship to living together.
Correct.
All right.
Let me ask.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is a question for you.
Me.
Yeah.
TED Talk?
Well, for everyone who, obviously everyone here knows that Ryan is an entrepreneur, but not all of us in here are entrepreneurs. I am an entrepreneur, so I understand where he's coming from. And it's difficult at times because the way that it works, if you don't work, you don't get paid. If you don't get paid, no bills get paid. If no bills get paid, you're out on the streets and you see where this is going.
Right.
So, it's kind of difficult when you date somebody who's not an entrepreneur and trying to compare how busy you are to how busy they are. So I think that's very subjective. But what I want to ask you was, do you think that it's normal that what you're doing, the way that you're working, how hard you're working, do you think that's normal? Your honest answer.
Normal?
Yes, and I know normal is subjective to a lot of people, but I'm asking
Just like
as a broad question, do you
generalized?
think how hard you're working is normal?
No.
So here's my next part of the question. So in wanting to be in a relationship, I think we all get into relationships wanting to eventually, especially at, how old are people in here? Let's say 20, let's say 25.
Over 20.
Okay, let's say 25. I think people in this space in their life, usually when they get into a relationship, it's with somebody that they're looking to have a lifelong relationship with, or should be, in my opinion. So do you think that working as hard as you're working is going to be sustainable in a fruitful and long relationship that you want to have going down the road?
That's a good question.
Because in relationships,
I have an answer.
in relationships,
I have an answer. Let him talk. Let him go.
sorry, I know him personally, so I'm getting at it. In relationships, it's all about compromise. And what I've understood through being an entrepreneur myself and being with somebody who's not, there's so much that you got to be able to compromise, especially when you live together. Right? I work very, very hard. I travel a lot. But I understand that the times that I am home and the times that I am with her, that has to be our time. It can't be, oh, well, I still have to work. She understands I still have to work. I understand that. But let's have our time. You go to bed if you want to go to bed. Now I can get back to work. Do you think that what you're doing is going to help you sustain a long and lengthy relationship with the next person that you're with?
Can I just say that anytime like someone asks a tough question, all the women always go, Like you guys just ate the most delicious thing in the world. They're like, boy, it's about to
It's
get
called
cooked.
judgment. That's the judgment juice.
Pressure.
Thank you for the question, Justin. And no, of course, bro, I love you, man. I know exactly what you're asking, and I know why you're asking it because we always have a lot of conversations about stuff like this. So for me, a question she actually asked me to pertain to this. A question she actually asked me before we broke up, probably like a week or so before we broke up, was we got in a fight about something, probably my work or something, I don't remember. And she basically said, she asked me, do you think you're even capable of being in a relationship right now? And I truthfully said to her, I don't know, right? And a week or so after that, we actually broke up, right? So to answer your question, do I think what I'm doing right now is sustainable for a long-term relationship? Sorry, not right now, right? And I think for me, I know that, but I don't plan to be working this hard forever, right? And I'm very tactical, and I'm very, I plan a lot of things, and not to an extent where it's overly planned. Like anything I say I'm gonna get done, I get it done. If anyone knows me, if I say it's done, like it gets done. That's just me. So there's a lot of things I like to get done, right? And what's unfortunate for I guess the relationship side of it when we us like me and her being together was we started dating when I quit my job. So I basically entered this entrepreneurship world while trying to balance this relationship. And it was just too much. Because I'm like, I want to give all of myself to what I'm doing, which I quit my job for this. I can't fucking chill. This is not for me to chill and be like, let's just go on dates. And like, I quit my job for this shit. You know what I mean? I got it. If someone's like, fly to Paris, I'm there. I'm not thinking, are you going to be sad? Like, I'm gone. You know what I mean? But because I was in a relationship, while I'm doing these things, that's how I'm feeling. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'll go somewhere and it's like, when do you be back? I'm like, I don't know, like a week? Okay. And like while I'm there, I'm working, but I'm like, I just want to make sure, like, I'm not present, right? In this time where I need to be present in everything I'm doing, right? And my purpose of why I work so fucking hard is because I want to get to a point where I don't have to work this hard. So I'm doing all this groundwork right now. I'm fucking building brands, I'm meeting people, I have people working under me, like I'm doing as much as possible so I can be like, oh, okay, now I can date. Like, you know what I mean? Like things are rolling. Oh, go ahead. Tris?
I think that, so I've been married for almost 9 years. It'll be 9 years in September. Okay, I was like, let's go.
Just for that.
So I'm a little bit older than the demo in this room, but one thing I would say is, and we've spoken about it before in the past, is as a man, I'm an entrepreneur as well. So one of the things that you learn as an entrepreneur is that you're no longer plugging into something, people are plugging into you. So that's why you're always constantly busy planning, prepping, working so hard. My wife is not like that. My father, I grew up seeing my father, entrepreneur, working hard, left a steady corporate job, and is now still an entrepreneur. My wife, her parents were all corporate people. We're all like just nurses, you know, that sort of thing, right? So they're all about just sticking to something for 30 years, and after that, get the payout, retire. And the reason why I say that is because I didn't go in knowing that. And I didn't go in being an entrepreneur. I was working too as well, like everybody else. And I think that as a man, though, I identified that she complimented me in other ways and ways that I needed. So for instance, where I will just go and go and go until I burn out, she'll be the balance that says, yo, listen, we gotta go on vacation, we gotta go to Niagara, we gotta recenter ourselves, we gotta make sure that we're here for the kids, that we have our health right, that we have our spirituality right, our faith right. So I think the thing, at least for me as a man, that I looked at was I trying to identify a whole person, not necessarily a person that looks exactly like me. And I think I like what you said before. It's not necessarily about the person having the exact same intensity of effort, but it's about allowing them to flourish and bloom where they're at, and them understanding that you know, you just have to be committed and be passionate about whatever your purpose is, whatever it is, right? And without having to be solely dependent on me to now direct you and give you purpose and give you passion and give you all this other stuff that really I'm not designed to do necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, you should be a whole person or becoming a whole person before I even come into the equation. So that's sort of the way my relationship is, and it's worked out. I mean, 9 years is not too bad.
Marley. Thank you for your wisdom, Tristan.
Oh wait, you're getting the mic?
All right, Ryan. Let's ask the real questions here, shall we? How long before she moved in were you guys dating? How long were you guys dating before she moved in?
So we dated for 9 months prior, 4 years ago.
Okay.
Broke up because it was solely distance.
Uh-huh.
And then before she moved in, before you started dating this time, is 4 years later. She reached out, we started talking again, whatever.
So you guys weren't talking between those 4 years?
No.
Okay. Have you lived with another girlfriend?
I have.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And how long was that before she moved into there?
I like how Marlon is asking questions he knows answers.
I just want the rest of the class to hear it. Let us all get some context here, shall we? Shall we? No, because this was something I talked to you about a lot. We had this discussion a lot.
Wait, and you also know how that situation happened. So that was not my.
I know that other situation. No, that's a special one. The other one was a special one, but
those are only two.
no, this one. I'm talking about this one right now.
You said before.
Whatever.
Regardless,
Go on.
regardless.
So this one, how long have I known? So
Yeah.
we started dating again in January of last year.
Okay.
She moved in by July of that year, so 7 months or so. We talked long distance, and she made the only reason we started talking again was because it didn't work before because of the distance.
Okay.
And then she reached out to me and said, "Listen, spend some time. I've been missing you, blah blah. How you been, blah blah." And I know it didn't work because of this. I'm actually ready to move now because A, B, C, D, E, F, and I was like, "Oh, sick, shit."
But do you feel like it was wise for her to move in with you or get her own place?
So, I'll take fault for this. I knew she would not be sustainable by herself if she moved here.
Okay.
And I took that risk for myself, right? I knew that she's from a small town. She's
You're helping her out, essentially.
Right.
You're being a good boyfriend.
Sure, but I knew that, like, that was probably where my red flag was that I ignored. We all ignore these red flags, right? There's a flag you're like, am I okay with it? I don't know. you just do, right? Yeah.
And you just do it,
Yeah.
right? So I knew that was a red flag, but I was like, that's kind of a fuchsia flag. It's not a full red. It's a coral.
I hear you.
So I'm like,
plus you're a nice person.
And I'm a nice guy, and I help. Right? I help.
Especially with her telling you she was constantly busy before, you're expecting the same workload.
Exactly.
When she moves
So it wasn't just like, just move in. It was kind of like, so this is a situation. Now you're ready to move. The reason you broke up is because you weren't. Now you're ready. I'm single. You're single. Are you actually ready? Yeah. I love this. I love Toronto. I want to be here. Blah blah blah. All the right tag words, right? And I'm like, again, if someone tells you, I can only take what you tell me, right?
Personally,
Go ahead. Yeah.
I would have just told her to work hard, save that money up, get a place herself.
I agree. However, I'm telling you again, I actually knew. It's not like I was thinking. I know she could not do that. She came from one, she's adopted. Two, she's been sheltered by her parents, her foster parents, whatever, her adopted parents. And she's the only child, and she already has anxiety and insecurity issues doing things by herself. And I knew that.
Did you tell her that? Did you tell her that you felt that she?
I did not.
It wasn't
no, of
wise
course.
for her?
No,
okay.
I did not. But and that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying I will take the blame or the fault, or whatever you want to call it, because I'm not gonna say I allowed it because she's a grown person. She made a choice.
Yeah.
But for lack of better terms, I allowed her to come here, knowing that I'm like, if she's gonna come here, I kind of have to do this.
I understand what you're
right?
saying about the proximity is different and whatnot, but I think if you guys were in a different position, say she lived in the city or whatever,
right,
and you guys decide to move in together, I think it's that time you guys had before dating wasn't long enough to even get to know each other. It would be
I completely agree.
Sustainable in the house.
Yeah, but I completely agree with that. And had she lived here, I would not have done that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I would not have been like, oh, we're talking for 7 months.
I'm not so sure, personally. I don't know that.
Anyways,
sure.
I would if she asked. Sorry.
I personally just think you were very in love.
Of course. I mean,
I think it pretty much clouded some of your vision.
Right.
And I can only say that with hindsight, right? Because back then, I'll be honest, I wasn't thinking that. I mean, I was also going through the whole long distance relationship thing more or less around the same time, and it easily could have worked out the same way for me and a lot of other people I know in long distance relationships, but it's very easy to be in love and I guess overlook certain things, but yeah.
You have to say it because you're outside the camera frame.
Oh, true. My
bad. Okay, we'll take a quick break and ask one of these questions. I'm just going to rummage through this shit right here. You want to read this? And, she also said, doesn't all pussy feel the same? Wait, we need what? What? You don't know, exactly. So for the ladies, does all dick feel the same?
Damn it.
And for the men, does all pussy feel the same?
Yeah, it does.
What? Just kill that there. Thank you.
That was a dumb question.
Actually, I have one more question. My apologies. What do you guys feel, or how important do you guys feel compatibility is in a relationship? Talk.
Huh?
Yeah,
What?
What?
Go ahead.
So, am I dumb or something? Like,
No, like
how important do you
Like
feel
saying,
compatibility is in a
how
relationship?
important you
And when like, okay, let me define. Sure. Let's just break down compatibility. Do you think it's important that you guys like the same things or enjoy the same things? Maybe are in the same space. Do you feel you need to be with someone who does what you do? Do you feel you need to be with someone who likes or views things the same way, has the same values? Like, do you? Okay, so someone give me an answer to that.
Well, yeah, because you're downloading Monopoly on PS4.
I think life and relationships are hard enough already. They're already a lot of work. So if I have to work to kind of get you to spend time with me, enjoying something that I do, I think that is just added stress to the relationship. And if you're looking to build with somebody and you guys are not compatible, of course it's not going to be across the board. That's not realistic. But I think that's the most important thing to keeping someone happy in the relationship. Okay, bye.
No, you have to change the pattern. Just that was real rude, right?
I think that I don't know if it was really presented well in terms of the question, because like compatibility in the sense, when I think about it, I don't think about it in terms of just the things that is being financially and fiscally responsible important, is owning a home important, is being an entrepreneur important, is giving back to your community important. What are the pillars of what makes you up as a person? Is that compatible with the other person? That's what I think about when I think about compatibility.
Do you believe opposites attract, that phrase?
For sure. I think on a personality level as well as on a surface level. Like, we don't have to have the same interests, but I think the foundation of who we are, there has to be a level of compatibility, or there's going to be a lot of conflict. So, for instance, like
It's more of a value thing.
it has to be values. Yeah, the values are really what makes us who we are, right? So, for instance, this is just an extreme example. I'm Christian, and the person I'm going to marry is Buddhist or something else. We may be people of faith, but like those are different faiths, right? So they may have different principles by which you practice your life and carry yourself, right? So it's just understanding, like going into whatever relationship you're in, the questions that you need to ask to get sort of an idea of, is this a person that I want to chill out with? Is this a person that I want to just hit and quit? Or is this a person I want to build a life around? And that's up to you, right?
Not that one. So next question. Someone asked, I'm always hesitant about getting in a relationship. How do I know I'm ready? That was you? That was you, Trezor?
I'm just helping.
Listen, this is a safe space, guys. Stop this. No, Trezor, we actually talked about it before, you and I. In short, I don't think it's about being ready. I feel like you may be ready right now. Ready, as for the term, right? But I feel it's more of an acceptance of, are you willing to share your time right now? Right? Are you willing? If you're not, then you're not ready. But you have to be like, I am willing to share time. That is it.
That I'll never get back.
Like, ever. I mean, that's honest. That's what, like, are you, like, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're like, I'd rather sleep and I don't want to have to call you. Like, and like, no, that's just what it is. Like, because as a boyfriend or girlfriend, like, that's kind of just what you have to do. Or at least check in. Like, that's just stuff you have to do. Yeah.
Like,
I think. Oh.
No, go on.
I was just saying. I think it's more so energy. Do you want to share? Energy?
Yeah.
Because time, you like. There's certain girls, like, when you're just a single guy, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I want to call this girl, but she's annoying, or she would drain me of this,
right, yeah.
But you still have time.
You still spend the time with them.
You still
yeah,
have time,
fair.
right? So it's more so energy.
Do I want to share my energy with her? Yeah.
I completely agree with that. Like, I mean, like, okay, I know my girlfriend's here, like, not to be, like, all sentimental and shit.
It's okay.
But it's like, you know, we were long distance, but she lived in BC, so it was, like, 3 hours behind. So I'm already sacrificing time there. And it's, like, the energy aspect is the fact that, you know, like, I would go into work the next day, like, bust. Because I was tired from, like, staying up, like, talking to my girl. And it's like, I was personally, I was very okay with doing that, right? But I know that there are a lot of people who would just sit there and be like, you know, I don't know if that is something that I would willingly do. And to be fair, like, to answer your question, like, how do you know when you're ready? I didn't think about it in that situation. Like, it wasn't until, you know, when she moved here and we were talking about it, I was like, yo, you know, I really stayed up, like, till 3 a.m. like, talking to you. But it's like, when it was happening, I wasn't thinking about it. It was just normal to me.
Question in the back?
Oh, no, I was waiting.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, okay. And just to finalize for you, to add to exactly what he was saying, was, yeah, like, he's saying, like, he doesn't question it, right? I think a big, like, especially at this age for us, like, when we were younger, like, it's a little more fuzzy, but I think at this age for us, it's kind of like, you know if you're like, I fuck with this girl, or I fuck with this guy. Like, it's not even like a and if it's a it's a no, right? But you know you're like, you'll come over all the time. Like, versus like, I'll see you here and there. You know what I mean? When you have that feeling where you're like, I want to call you. Always. Like, I want to check in. Most times. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have that intrinsic feeling. So you feel it. It's a feeling, I guess. Yeah. Go.
Feels a lot, but this next question's hilarious. How far is too far to mission for new pussy? Never smashed before. And I will say across the country, that's what I did. I'm being real, like, that's what I did. Talk about a new podcast. Like, I really did that, so that's my answer. We'll go out.
How far is too far for new pussy?
Look, every man in here, some of these guys are gonna lie, but every man in here has told themselves, like, yo, I've traveled the distance.
Who's traveled the furthest? Find out who's traveled the furthest.
What?
Find out who's traveled the furthest.
Sure, yeah, let's do that. What is the furthest you have traveled for vagina?
I'm ruled out. I'm not in this, but like,
and when I say furthest, you have to say like, but let's just say time, or like how long it took that time, or city from how far you were located. For new pussy. like you're like, I haven't had this before. And she's like, come now. And you're like, but I'm home. And she said, yeah, come now. How far?
5 hours.
5 hours? Okay, is that?
No, she became my girlfriend though. So
I'm sorry?
Does it count if she became my girlfriend?
No, what does it matter? It was you at that time.
Because she wasn't at the time.
She wasn't at the time?
Yeah, she wasn't at the time. You went 5 hours. Anything? We're bidding now. You higher than 5 hours?
And it was like, mega bus.
We got 5 hours.
Mega bus.
Yo, you know what's crazy about that time?
Mega bus.
I think it only took me like 4 hours to get to BC. So like,
by plane.
So did you leave
Mega bus.
Did you leave the province?
No, it's Ottawa.
Oh my God, bro.
Ottawa pussy.
That's how I met this guy.
Oh.
Does it count if you were going there anyways and then you set up like you set up the plan that okay, you come, like she's somewhere else, I'm somewhere else, I have to go. Okay, boom. So I was going to Ottawa. She was from Montreal. Like meet me in Ottawa. Does that count? No, but from me to Ottawa, is that
that's
multitasking.
Does that count as me
Listen,
traveling?
bro, that's called excellent time management. That's what it's called.
It's a great calculator.
Six.
Wow, that's a great question. Someone asked, are you thinking of taking this podcast internationally? I think, honestly, I did an interview with someone for this magazine that asked me the same question about the podcast because they listen in New York City. And I said, listen, like, it'd be cool. Like, I would who doesn't want to go international with this shit?
Of course.
Marlon, of course, I know you would love to go.
Yeah.
It just, depends if we have enough listeners in a particular city to justify like going there. I think it's that simple.
I think one of the plans I told you, the more that I had for the podcast, I'd love for us to at least kind of start, building into maybe latter half of this year to next year, is university touring. So I think, like I've been to university, I've graduated university from University of Ottawa, and I know I would have went to something like that. Like if young guys came into my school, was like, yo, we're talking about some shit today in the lecture hall, like pull up. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like, yo, what's going on? Like I bring a friend, or like I would do that. I know I would do that. So I know some people at different schools in the student council area. So I want, if you guys know anyone in the student council area that we can talk to, whatever, let me know, hit me up. But that's something I wanted us to start doing. Just try with one university and kind of use that as our test, and then kind of pitch that to other schools. I think that's something I want us to do. International, I would love that too, but I feel like international is much easier to get once you prove something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, we did like 10 universities in Canada. It's an easier conversation,
Question: how do you know when a man wants to marry you?
Well, are they asking us this question?
Yeah, they're asking us.
Ask him.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're also a resident married.
Is anyone else in here married? Anybody else in here married?
You're supposed to be engaged.
Huh? Engaged? No, engaged means you want to get married, so it's the same. Are you engaged? You? Oh, okay. Sure. You're engaged? You're engaged? How did you know? How did you know this was the one I am going to see for the rest of my life only?
I am a religious man, so that was one of the things that was most important to me. And also, it was getting along with both families. Families is also an important thing. Having the support of both parents is the thing that I think is very effective with the relationship. So we're both different cultures. He's Indian, I'm Jamaican. And a lot of times I find that when people say, or I say I have an Indian girlfriend, they're like, oh, you're good with their family? And the people get caught by surprise. But when I was embraced by her family, they treat me like off the bat like I'm like one of their own. So when I knew that, I was like, this is not just to play around. This is like a for real thing, because you don't get that often. So once I figured out that, and she was good with my family, I was like, this is like something I need to hold on to. So from there, although we don't have the same interests, like in terms of like things, like everyone said, polar opposites and stuff like that. But in terms of values, it's there. So values, family, and faith, that's what I need.
But one question, where, okay, like, I'm curious, like, where were you, or, like, what was going on in the exact moment when you said to yourself, like, okay, I'm going to marry her?
Oh my gosh, no, I'll tell you.
You're in his mind. That's amazing.
She was so quick.
We had our first date, and he left his phone in my car, and I swear he did it on purpose, because the next day I had to go give it back to him. And mind you, I've known him since I was 8 years old. So, I had to go give it back to him, and then he sat in the car, and he turned over to me, and he said, I wanted to take you out for sushi, because I love sushi, and he said, but I know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And he's like, and I want to make sure, that was like literally the second day. And I was like, okay, and he's like, will you go out with me? I'm like, I already did. Because I don't know. And then he was like, no, I'm like, would you be my girlfriend? I was like, okay.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know each other since they were 8 years old.
Sure. But like, I know you.
And he was like, he told me, he's like, I know what I want, and you're what I want.
Okay.
And I was like,
Another one for the faithful Black man community.
Yeah, just to clarify, he didn't just meet her for the first time and say, I want you the rest of my life. Like, no, they know each other since they're 8. First time they kind of went, like, explored in that direction, and he's like, okay, you know what? Cool. That's cool. That makes me happy. I like that.
I didn't even like him before.
Wow. You're gonna let, wow. Why did you have to do that?
It was just like a good note.
Let him have it.
crushed him. When the man was hot head, they're like, I'm gonna bring him back down.
I even daps the man. She's like, nah, you don't get that daps. I didn't even like you. Like, what? Nah, I'm glad you.
It's true though, because when I first started dating him, I didn't
Let him have it. No. Enough. Next question.
Okay, next question.
Oh my God. Like, we're evil, bro.
Next question. Taking away Instagram likes, is it good or bad for businesses, influencers, and I'm gonna add like relationships too.
Sure. Yes, I mean the likes went away. I haven't updated my app yet, so I still have likes on my phone.
It's only on select.
It just took it? Oh.
Yeah.
But I don't really care. Like, it's not about that. I personally, like, people who know me, like, I've never really cared about the likes like that, especially if I'm doing well what I'm doing. If you guys don't like it, I got paid for it. I don't care. Like, don't care. I do things that I love it. I do things that I want to do these things. The likes have become this social structure of how to gauge what is good versus not good. And for me, the easiest way for me to take myself out of that, when I see bullshit on Instagram getting like thousands of likes and thousands of views, I'm like, this shit doesn't mean anything. This means absolutely nothing. This video is garbage. Whatever I'm looking at is trash, but 10,000 people liked it. I'm like, it clearly means nothing, right? So that was the easy way for me to be like, disconnect from myself from that. I'm just like, they'll like anything. People will like anything. It doesn't matter. Just as long as what you believe, what you're doing is good, you continue to make relationships and build. That's what's important. This like stuff is kind of how we separate each other from like who's cool, who's popular. Like we're too old for that shit. Like for real, you know. So that's me. Go ahead.
I think from like a social perspective, it's cool. I had this conversation with my girl. Like, I don't want people to get it twisted. Like, Instagram didn't get rid of the likes to make people feel nice. Like, they did it for like business purposes, right? Because now it like forces people to buy more ads, so their stuff is more seen by more people. Because instinctively, when you look at a post now and there's no likes on there, you're like, how valuable is this post now if I can't see that it has thousands of likes? All these types of things, right? So there's a lot of business going on behind the scenes, and Instagram realized that, you know, they need to make money off of people who use this application. Like, so that's just the facts about that. But I mean, from a societal standpoint, I do think it's nice because yeah, you're right. There are times where you see some shit on Instagram and you're like, how does this have like this many likes? It makes no sense. But maybe, to be honest, that's kind of like a sickness to even ask that question. To look at something and be like, why does this have so many likes? Like, why do I even care to begin with? You know, so that's just my take on it. But next question, your thoughts on situationships? Believe in them? Are they pointless or can go somewhere? Have you ever been in one? So I guess answer that one first. Have you ever been in one? What do you think of it?
I guess the definition of situationship is pretty standard, I guess, for most people, but just basically just being with somebody, not being with somebody. You fuck them, but they're not your girl or guy. So kind of just do this thing.
But I think the reason why it's a situationship is because like there's an element of like you don't know it, like what it's going to be,
Okay.
or one of the people doesn't know.
Someone doesn't know.
Someone doesn't know.
Okay, but it could be.
Yeah, but there's no conversation that's been
just
had.
no one's talking about it.
Exactly.
Okay. I personally haven't been in a situationship. I've been like, I just fuck someone. I just fucking people, but. I'm very vocal about things like that, just me personally. I gladly wear the asshole patch on my chest. I kind of just get that because sometimes I say things, it doesn't come off as nice as they like to, but I need to say it because if I don't, then I become an asshole anyway. So I'm like, let me just do it from now. Because if you're gonna call me an asshole for not saying it back then I'm like, why don't I just say it back then and just take it and give you the opportunity to continue or not continue? Because I feel like we don't give people the opportunity to make choices, right? And I think that's why all these relationships or like situationships or whatever, even just talking or dealing ends up so poorly is because people go into things with no fucking clue, right? And nobody just wants to talk about it, just avoid it forever. And it's like, so what the hell's happening? And people are like, oh, let's just keep doing this. So for me, like, if I want to be with someone, I'll be like, I see myself with you, so let's kind of see where this is going. Or if I don't, I'd be like, listen, we will never be together. And like, it sounds harsh, but I'm like, we're never gonna be together. So if you want to keep fucking, we can. But you're gonna start liking me, and the answer's not gonna change. Like I'm that guy, which, whatever. And some have continued, and some have been like, you know, I'm not cool with that, let's stop. But I feel better with them being like, I'm not cool with that, so let's just stop. And I'm like, okay. Like, it's fair for you to be like, I'm not okay with that, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, like I've been in situationships before, and I've kind of found myself in them without obviously planning to be in them. I personally think they're problematic because someone is gonna get hurt. I can say in my experiences, I've never been in a situationship and been the person wondering, like, is this gonna go somewhere? Like, are we gonna be dating or not? So I can like honestly say I was that person that knew like I didn't want a relationship with that person,
but didn't say anything.
Right? And looking back in hindsight, like, you know, I don't at my big age, like I don't think I'd put someone through that.
In big age.
Yeah, like, I don't think I would put someone through that, you know, because we talked about time and energy, and you know, like I don't want my time and energy being wasted. So I'm at a point in my life now where it's like I don't want to do that to someone else because like karma is a real thing. That's what I believe anyway. And if you put that energy out there, it'll come back to you at some point. You know. So unless you're being honest with your intentions, like fine, that's cool. But I don't want to like put someone in that position.
All right, we'll take a little break from the question again. I'll ask you guys another question. Do you guys, if anyone's willing to answer, please put your hand up. Do you guys who are single, I'll say, actually, single or relationship doesn't really matter. Do you guys know what you want out of a partner? Do you actually know?
Yeah.
Hand up. Okay.
So, and this sort of harkens back to another question that came up earlier on about compatibility. And gentleman that was over here that's married, forgot his name, but just speaking of forgetting names, I know exactly what I want. There's certain criteria that are centered around values, and there's also criteria that center around personality. You know, sort of what foods you like, what interests you have, and sort of I had an answer to that question earlier as well. Compatibility, it's sort of multifaceted, and it can be. Values need to be there at the core, and for some people, they need to have. To also have someone that can be maybe either their best friend or someone that they can share their life with in a more overarching sense of things. And other people, you know, what they're content with or what they prefer is where it's more of a traditional approach where you're not necessarily friends, your best friends or anything like that, but you're together with purpose and you have a good relationship with each other, but it's more about your purpose in each other's lives than it is about being the best of friends kind of thing. So. I know what I like, and it's centered around more of the, you know, sort of having like my partner is going to be my best friend. So we've got to share a lot of common interests, and that's what I want, what I like. I think it's hard to figure out what that is without experience, and it takes time. And a lot of times you think you know, and it changes over time. You know, it's continually changing. To that point, I think another thing I was going to respond to is. You're asking how do you know if you're ready for a long-term relationship. I think for most men, I think religion aside, I think, you know, if your values are really centered around religion and it sort of pushes you towards establishing family and building that, and you have the support of your family around you towards that, I think that's all great. But I think if that's not part of your life, then I think for most guys, their best bet is just to stay single and keep their options open and build themselves up to a point where they're their own sort of mental port of origin. And eventually, time will come where someone comes along and it makes sense, or maybe it won't happen. But at the end of the day, you build your life up so that you're content with it. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Anybody else? Do you guys know what you want in your partner? Like exactly what you want specifically? No? Yes?
So there's a big difference between knowing what you want versus what you need.
Correct.
So with experience, I'm in my mid-30s, been there, done that when it comes to relationship. There was a lot of times that I'm like, I want X, Y, and Z, and I would manifest it, and I would manifest him. failing to realize that what I had received wasn't really necessarily what I needed. So for me, because again, with wisdom, I'm sharing this with you all, is that
30 plus crowd?
yeah, 35 plus crowd,
Okay.
that's me. So I'm at the point of my life that my husband that is coming into my life, that this is the things that I require is what I'm demanding. And of course, as you had mentioned, the gentleman at the front, values is important to me as well. Like spirituality is important to me. I have to make sure that him and I are on the same level as far as like, I'm a successful woman, I'm independent, I'm a homeowner. Like he has to have that criteria as well too.
Because you built it for yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
But I think it's also important to figure out what, like, and the reason why I'm saying the things that I need versus what I want is that because there's I'm not perfect. The things that I lack, he has to balance me. And that's what I need. And that's what I'm welcoming in my life. So yeah. But again, there's a difference between want and need.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We're gonna want a lot of things in this life, guys. That's why what she says is very important, because we don't need that much, but we want it all, right? We all want it all. The things we actually need, things like necessities, they're very few, but they're just very strong, right? Our needs are very strong and few. Our wants are plenty. So.
All right. So next question. Why do men who didn't treat you right feel the need to message every now and then to check in? Jamie, who's checking in? I like the way your head just went that, like, checking in.
I mean, I can't speak for that man out there who's doing that shit. I don't check in if I treat someone bad. I kind of dip. Like, if I know what I did, I know if I've done something bad to somebody or I made them feel away, like, I'm not gonna be like, yo, you good? How you been? Like, I fucking hate you, right? Like, you know I hate you. Like, so I personally, I'll take responsibility for things I've done, so I wouldn't just to be annoying, be like, yeah, so how you been? Like, we should see each other again. Like, I'll never be that guy. Like, I own it up to things. I know there are women that deal with guys that treat them like shit and still act like that shit didn't happen and kind of just get amnesia. Which you're like, did you forget I fucking hate you? Like, why are you texting me again? Last week I said don't text me again, and you said okay, I got it, and you're here again. Like, I know you girls deal with that shit.
Marlon, what were you gonna say? Do you have a question? Do you need to follow up to this or no?
What was the question?
No, I thought you raised
what
your
was
hand.
the question again?
Like, why do men who treated a woman bad feel the need to check in?
Because people keep letting them check in.
Because women allow it? Is that what you're saying?
People allow it.
Or people allow it.
People allow it. Like, toxic people always attach themselves to their victims. They're
right.
just going to keep going back. They like doing that.
Right.
And if you keep allowing,
it,
that,
so they're like, I can do this again.
They're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, this is a flip side question. Why do male friends ghost you after getting into a relationship? So, as a male, why would I ghost my female friend
once she's dating someone?
Once I start dating someone else?
Because your girl is crazy.
You think that's by force?
Nah. My girlfriend can fight.
Wait, you want the mic?
I feel like if I have a girl and now all of a sudden I'm ghosting you, I can only speak from my personality. That's kind of by force, because if it's just a friendship and my partner knows that it's just a friendship, nothing should have changed between me and my friend just because I got in a relationship. If I'm not talking to you anymore, it's either I had intentions in my mind of you as more than a friend, or I know that you liked me as more than a friend. Like there's something else. Yeah, there's something else going on.
Oh, your girl just says don't talk to that. You just gotta
yeah,
stop
I feel.
talking to her.
Oh, sorry.
Like there's some guys that are just like that. Like I have one friend, he constantly, every time he gets in a relationship, don't hear from him. The minute they break up, we're talking again. I just feel like that's how he is, that's who he is as a person.
So I'm gonna ask you.
I'll ask you directly. Do you think he likes you?
No.
No, I'm don't get defensive. It's fine. I'm just asking because I've had this conversation many times, and Marlon's had a conversation, and we've had a conversation about can girls and guys be friends, right? So my perspective on that, real quick, is that it's very difficult in this age for men and women to be strictly platonic friends. It's
not difficult.
It's my perspective, meaning my opinion, is that it's very difficult for many men to be platonic friends with women if they're attracted to them, right? That is my entire statement before you guys cut my throat. Because I feel like when someone's attracted to somebody, even like, yeah, it's my girl, we're just cool, blah, blah, but you'd fuck. You'd definitely fuck. You would. If she came to you today and said, you know what, let's fuck. You're gonna be like, nah, you're my girl, like, ew. Like, no, you wouldn't. I feel like the easier situations where guys and girls are friends is when either they're not attracted to that girl or they've truly known someone so long that there was no room to be attracted to them. Like there's someone I know since I was 4 years old, and she's literally like the term sister, but I don't call her a sister, but I'm saying like that's literally how I look at her. Like I'm like, I know I've been in your family, like your daughter is my like goddaughter. Like it's just for me to even look at you like that, I'd be like, no. Like, and not that she's ugly.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Wait, are you gonna sit down?
Yeah.
Like, do you think that
the camera.
Based on what you said, like personally, I think it's possible to know that a friend is an attractive person, but not be attracted to them.
I didn't say that.
I'm not saying that's what you said.
Course.
But what I'm saying is like that's where I think, in a lot of cases, the problems occur because, you know, like if your girl's dating you, she knows that like you're not stupid, right? So it's like you may like I've been in this situation. Like I'll have a friend, for example, that I know is an attractive person because I know everyone else says they're attractive.
Right.
But to have that conversation to say like I am not attracted to that person, I feel like there are some cases where there's a man or woman will say things like, How are you not? Because like everyone else is. And it's like sometimes I think it comes down to your actions, like what your intentions are, trying to convey them. But it definitely is like a tough conversation to have in this day and age, I think, sometimes. Right?
I agree, definitely.
But I also think that attraction is not just physical. So Ryan, you were saying like, okay, well, if I want to sleep with her, then it's going to be a problem. But there's also emotional attraction. There's intellectual attraction, right? And then even with that can be just as bad as physical infidelity, right? And so I personally think that there needs to be a ghosting period for friends in general because you're going to be in tunnel vision, right? Mode with that person. You're infatuated with that person. You're dating them. You're trying to get to know them, especially if it's the opposite sex. Like you have a friend that's the opposite sex. If you're trying to get close to this other female, or you know this person that you're attracted to and you're trying to get to know, that other friend, regardless of whether or not you want it to be that way, if they want to share you, right, and you know them, so they're already kind of closer to you than the other person that you're actually trying to date. So you need that time to kind of have your space, get to know this person, and keep it going. I don't think it's a personal thing. I mean, guys do it to guys. Like sometimes I know friends that when they date, I don't hear from them for like 5 months. I mean, it is what it is. It's just natural. When you find that person or you start dating a person, you ghost everybody.
Just stop being pressed for pussy.
What you said?
Men just need to stop being pressed for pussy. That's all.
Question?
I just had a quick comment, and to what you said, when you've known someone your whole life, and they're like a little sister to you or a little brother or whatever it is. There's always room. There's always room when you think that you would never do something with this person because you've known them your entire life. There's always room.
I mean,
there's always room.
They were 8.
And besides that, my point is this. I understand when people say that, you have to or you should ghost certain friends that you do have when you're getting into a new relationship, and I understand why they say that. And I think it's based on what Tristan said as well, like you're trying to get to know someone else who is the opposite sex, and with that person sharing you, it's kind of difficult to do that. But I do understand also that once you do get to a certain position in your relationship, if you want to continue being friends with this person who is the opposite sex, there needs to be a time where you and your partner meet with this person and not say, hey, I'm dating this person, so we should meet. But they need to understand that this is your friend, you guys are becoming something, and now all three of you guys are in this thing together.
And I feel it doesn't happen a lot.
It doesn't happen a lot.
That's why
I feel like it doesn't happen a lot because people are afraid to share that, and they're afraid of competition, and they're, like you said, afraid to integrate and say, look, this is my friend, this is who I'm dating, and then we're all sitting there, and what is it now? You know what I mean?
Like,
I feel like a big reason that, you know, guys and girls ghost these people is because, is the girlfriend or boyfriend, they never feel like they can compete with that friend, right? Like they feel like, I just met you and I'm trying to get to know you, and like you have this girlfriend, you have this guy friend that you say so close to you. It's like, how am I competing with this best friend, right? Like, sorry. In a way, I know in actuality it's not a competition, but I feel like that is what causes a lot of these problems. Is like they feel like they're a competition with your best friends. Like it's like I'm your girl. Like when you're telling your best friend, it's like, yo, I've known them before you. Like it's like, yeah, but you're with me now. It's like, yeah, but like we just talk. Like, that's what we do. It's like, so why don't you tell me? It's like, I mean I can, but so it's like this like weird thing. So that's why I think that's what you're saying is probably the most important thing that needs to happen once that like thing starts happening, is remove that fear or confusion by being like, yo, like, can you meet this person? Like, this is what's actually going on. Like, can you be okay with my girl? Can you be okay with my friend? Like, there's no like me versus you. I tell you things, but not my, like, it's, we're all cool. Is this good? Like, we don't do that enough, you know? You did first, then you.
So I just wanted to allude to the gentleman had said it. You know, woman to woman, human nature, we do get in our feelings, and I have male friends since senior kindergarten days and whatnot. And even if they're saying, you know what, let's go out for lunch, let's catch up. Nope, bring your girlfriend. You know, I always include, even if I had never met the girlfriend, just from a woman to woman perspective, just to let that woman know, like, I got you, even though I don't know you. It's that almost that hidden respect, in the sense that, you know, let the three of us come. I'm having this housewarming, bring your girlfriend. You know, because again, woman to woman or whatever, you may not, me and that person could be childhood friends, and I know nothing to go, so like, I would never look at him in that sense, but I would never want, I have so much respect for a woman and just empowerment and whatnot, but I just wouldn't want her to feel intimidated, although I may not feel. And I'm not saying that because I'm the shit and whatnot, but just,
it's the unknown. She doesn't know.
Exactly.
She doesn't know.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you want to meet up, bring your girlfriend.
If
you want to come over, bring your girlfriend. Oh, let's go out for lunch. Let's catch up. Nope, the three of us. So that we can build that foundation. And then so that the woman unconsciously know that there's some sort of respect between me and that person. So
read that.
It also puts him in check. Early. Over my girl? No, we're good.
And just to piggyback on what you said and what you said with the competition thing, I find I have a male best friend and he's in a relationship. And I found, especially when it was new, what he would do is he'd come to me when he had issues with her. So I had to go, cut that off. No, I don't want to hear it. Don't come to me when you have issues. Go to her. That's who you need to be with. I shouldn't be the person you're complaining with when it comes to relationships. So
that's really good on you for like doing that though. Because I feel like a lot of people would enable the situation.
Yeah, and you can't do that because now it also, I'm now knowing these things that I shouldn't know. And now I have a bias against her because of what you're telling me, which may not necessarily be the truth. It's just you're one-sided. So you need to go talk to her. If you guys want to come and talk to me together, that's great. I can help you that person one-sided, but I can't be the person you come to with your side.
Take time now. Promotion. Tell mama.
This guy is so annoying. I love you, buddy.
Okay, a few things. One, I think like maybe we need to define I think everybody has a different perspective of what ghosting is. Because when people say ghosting, it's usually like someone literally stops speaking to you because whether it's beef or whatever, they literally just stop all communication. That's totally different from someone getting into a relationship and them being like, I'm going to spend more time with this person versus going to like group outings or spending time with you.
Are you referring to
vocalizing
that though?
I don't even think really it needs to be vocalized.
Does it or doesn't matter?
I don't think so. I don't think like I'm obligated to be like, oh, I'm in a relationship now, I can't hang out. But like, yeah, it's like we're adults. Like I don't owe anybody an explanation. So I feel like ghosting is totally different because that's literally like cutting off communication because you're upset with someone. Or
yeah, like if I reach out to you and
I don't answer.
Yeah, like
that's
you don't
ghosting,
answer,
right?
yeah.
So it's like it's different if someone like, for instance, she got into a relationship and I haven't seen her in so long, but I know she's not ghosting me. It's just like she's busy, like she's trying to build a life. I can't be mad. So that like I feel like you have to know boundaries. I also have 2 male best friends and they've been in relationships and I know myself and I know that the girl might be intimidated by our relationship. So good on you for like inviting the friend and all that, but not because that's not my responsibility. I feel like I've always like introduced me to your girlfriend, no problem. I want her to be cool, but it's not on me to make her not feel insecure. That's your job. It's not my relationship. My only responsibility is being a good friend to you, and that's our friendship. If I choose to be friends with your girl and integrate them in our plans and you want to invite them, no problem. And if I'm having something, you can invite them, no problem. That's not at all. But I'm not going out of my way to make the girl feel comfortable or include her in plans because that's not my responsibility. Like I think that you should make your girl feel comfortable and comfortable with me, and so that there's no blurred lines. But if me and you have never had anything, obviously if I've been around or dating or whatever, we would have done that already. So if we've been friends for X amount of years, there's nothing you should be worried about.
Anybody else? No? Yes? No? Yes, cool.
I got like a few more questions. We got a lot of questions, so what I'll probably do is save them for our podcast when we talk. Yeah. Because I'd love to see if there's anyone here that actually has questions they want to answer. But last question I'll do is, in a time when we put ourselves first, what is the one thing you'd be willing to compromise in a relationship? I think I'll answer this first. Like I think it's a tough question to like answer right now if you're not in a relationship, because I feel like once you get into a relationship with quote unquote the right person, you'll see things about yourself that you thought were really important before that you might be willing to compromise on. I think Justin alluded to it earlier in terms of like being a freelancer or entrepreneur, that, you know, when like you have your time when you work and it's like when you're together, that's your together time, right? And then if she goes to bed, like you go back to doing work. One of the things that I really had to work on is like the amount of time I spend being on my phone. You know what I mean? And I feel like even for people that aren't entrepreneurs, like everyone here, I think spends a lot of time on their phone, whether or not they realize it. And for me, it's like literally the majority of my business either goes through my phone or through my computer. And I have this on me more than my computer, so this is what I use all the time. And it wasn't until, you know, my girl was telling me, like, you spend a lot of time on your phone, right? And I'd have to have the conversation that, you know, like, this is what I do for my business, like, this is why I have it. And then I kind of had to start realizing on myself, you know, like, I'm not always doing business on my phone. Like, sometimes I just open up my phone and go to Instagram for no reason, right? Does anyone else do that? Like, open up some sort of social media? Like, it's a bad habit, right? And so I don't want to say, like, it sounds weird to say that that's a compromise, but I'm still working on it. But, like, it's something that I'm training myself to do. So I would consider it a compromise, even though I don't have an issue doing it. But it's like recognizing that even though this is the primary means of my business, I'm like consciously telling myself I need to like not be on this all the time, because I'm beginning to realizing how it's affecting my partner. Right? And if I care about my partner, then I'll make the change to fix that. But you know, it comes with every relationship. You know when you're in it, what needs to be done, and if you love that person, you'll do it. That's my opinion.
For me, I feel an issue that actually a topic that came up in my previous relationship was love languages. We had very different love languages, and I didn't really realize how important that was. And it's very important, guys. Like, it's really important. And it's no one's fault, right? We're different, and what makes you happy and what makes me happy are different things. And for you guys who don't know what love languages are, it's just like how you want to be loved, or the things that, like, you might be like, you know what makes me happy? It makes me happy when you clean up after yourself and you clean up the house. Like, that's what makes me truly happy. Some people are like that. And someone else would be like, you know what makes me happy? When, you know, you just come and sit beside me. Yeah. Like, that's as simple as that could be, right? And that's, to you, you're like, I don't care if you're sitting beside me. And they're like, but I do. And you're like, okay. I think that's my compromise situation for, you know, my next relationship, where I just have to kind of understand some of the love languages from the beginning and then determine if I can adjust to that. Because if I start learning about it later, it's so difficult to rewind and be like when I've already been away so long, it's like now I have to adjust to this thing now, and then now it feels like a task. I'm like, oh, I gotta be here, like, because you like this, like, you know, rather than me going into it like, yo, what makes you happy? Like, if I pay for a trip, because I'll do that sometimes, if I pay for a trip and fly you to fucking Jamaica, we have a trip together, do you just like that, or does that actually make you happy? Because some people are like, yeah, I'll take the trip, but they don't actually really enjoy that trip, right? They're like, I could have been cool chilling here. I'll take the trip because it's cool. No, but it's honestly, like, and no joke, that was a situation. Like, I took her on a trip. She was happy about it. She was glad to go, but that to her, she's like, yeah, like that was cool.
Just got flued out, no big deal.
No, but not even to knock her. But like, to me, I'm like, in my mind, my love language is, I'm like, I do things. I will save money up and be like, yo, we're flying out tomorrow, and I just do that shit. And to me, I'm like, I think she would like that, right? But the problem is, not that she doesn't like it, but that's not her love language. So like, to her, it's like.
So here's the thing though, like,
yeah,
question: how many people here have taken like the love language test? People done it? I think
if you haven't, you should.
Honestly, like, I think it's incredibly important. Everyone does, not because I'm not saying that if you take it now, it's gonna then, you know, cause some type of rift in your relationship. No. I definitely don't think it's gonna do that. I just think it's important to know how you like to be loved, right? And it's so weird you're bringing this up, because once again, like, me and my girl have like been having these conversations, right, about this exact topic. I'll be open, like, you know, I like to be loved through, like, I like to be bought shit. Like, I like that stuff,
gifts.
right? Like,
well, gifts.
That's dead ass,
sure.
like, one of the things.
Yeah.
Like, I personally like that. But it doesn't mean just giving me like gifts all the time. Like, I'm not gonna go crazy for that. It's like, if you buy me something practical that I'm gonna use, you buy me a fucking keychain for my keys, like, I'm gonna love you for that, right? And, like,
it doesn't have
not any random thing. We're just being serious. Like,
it doesn't have to be extravagant.
It
It's
doesn't
just
have
like
to be extravagant. That's just the thing. So the problem with like not understanding your love language is because that's how I like to be loved. Growing up for most of my life, I was like, okay, like, I like this. I'm gonna do this for my girl.
Right.
But that in itself is a problem, and it
Right.
sounds so like obvious saying that, but you'd be surprised how many people like at this age don't understand that, right? And it's very important to just do that. So even if your love language doesn't match up with the person you're with, it doesn't mean that relationship can't work. It just means that
that's the actual point of adjusting.
Yeah, there's some calibration that can happen, right? And I think if you love that person, that calibration can happen over time. I don't think it's gonna change right away, and that needs to be like very clear, right? Because it's a habit.
I agree.
And that will change over time.
Yeah, so that's mine. So I need to be willing and understand that from the beginning.
Yeah.
So we have about 30 minutes before we have to actually wrap up. So we're gonna give you guys about 15 minutes of questions. If anyone has some questions, I know you have one. Do you still have it? Yes, you do. Do you still want to discuss it? Go ahead.
I just want to know if you guys would consider talking about mental health and relationships. I don't know if anyone in here identifies with dealing with either a partner that's going through it or if you're going through it. Yeah.
Actually, okay, I was gonna like talk about this at the end, but so basically, you know, Ryan and I started this podcast, and a lot of it in private conversations, it had to do with the fact that we felt like in the black community in particular, not just men overall, we don't really talk a lot about our feelings, and mental health in particular is like a really big thing, right? So like this topic is like super weird for me at this current point in my life because, you know, obviously, like, you know, how many people here knew my brother? Like, just raise your hands or like ever met him, right? And it's weird because at this point, you know, currently it happened yesterday. We don't know the full details of everything that happened regarding my brother, right? To give you guys a rundown, like essentially he was struck by a GO train yesterday, and when my parents talked to the cops, they said that it wasn't an accident, right? So we don't know the full details of what that even means. Supposed to be finding out more information tomorrow, but you know, if anyone here has ever met my brother, seen his shit on social media, seen his tweets, he'd probably be like one of the last people you'd ever expect to put himself in that position, right? So the importance of mental health for me is like very high. I mean, it's probably heightened now, more so than it's ever been. My friends and I joke a lot about the fact that me as a Pisces, I'm very emotional. And like, quite often I used to get made fun of for that, and I wore that on my sleeve, like it was cool, right? I used to joke about the fact that I was like very emotional. And, you know, I just think it's important to have these conversations often, and especially with the people that you love, because you absolutely like never ever really know what is going on with people, right? That's just a fact. No matter who you're talking to, they could be your best friend for like the last 20 years. There's always a time where something is going on, and sometimes people put on a mask because, you know, sometimes they don't want to worry you, right? Which is why they do it. And, you know, I'm not bringing this up, obviously, to make the whole situation sad, but I'm bringing it up because, you know, I can only, honestly, truthfully, only think of positive moments with my brother. The last thing I said to him was like, I love you, get home safe, the night before, and that's what he did. And, you know, we briefly talked about mental health before on the podcast regarding relationships. And I think if you truly do love someone and you notice something, it's important to have that conversation with them as early as possible and in the most respectful way that you can. Because I personally never been in the position, but I feel like it's very easy to alienate people who are going through something. You have to understand, people are very vulnerable, right? I'm sorry about going on a rant, by the way, but like,
bro,
yeah, but people are very vulnerable, you know, like it takes a lot to approach someone and say, like, yo, I'm having this problem, you know, and I think if someone does approach you and say those things, you should respect that and, you know, respect the fact that they love you enough to actually tell you, you know. Forget, you know, the extreme levels of it. How many people here have, like, you know, struggled to just tell someone something that was like a secret, you know, like how hard it was to do that because you know how it might change the dynamic of your relationship. Like, everyone has gone through those moments. So I think just on the grand scale of things, mental health overall is incredibly important. I think everyone needs to take the time to, you know, think about their own mental health. I want to destroy this whole narrative that, you know, talking to a therapist or counselor is a negative thing, because it's not. Sometimes talking to your close friends about certain things is a lot harder than talking to someone that's like completely like not objective to the situation. And yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's important, you know. It's kind of weird for me thinking about the fact that this happened yesterday, and I'm up here like talking about it, like not breaking down right now, because I mean, I woke up this morning and I was a wreck, but the truth is, like, I feel a lot better talking about things, right? I personally do. I don't know how a lot of people feel, but it makes me feel a lot better. You know, when I woke up, I didn't know if I was gonna be able to talk about certain things without crying, but it's like, I feel good. Like I'm very happy you guys are here. I love you guys for coming out. Like I know it was on some people's minds when they came, and you know, I'm like deeply grateful of the fact that, you know, y'all are just sitting here listening to me and like hopefully taking something from it, you know. I don't know all of you, but I love you all. So I want you guys to, I really want you to think about that.
We just gotta wrap up now. We gotta get out of here by 11. We have 15 minutes just to kind of pick up some garbage, put the garbage over there in the corner. There's food, there's snacks, please take, because I can't take it all. Please take, bring it to your friends, family, whatever, snacks, chips, water. Mika has some cupcakes, please take. I just want to say thank you guys all, man. Like for me even to be comfortable to do this in front of you guys. Bro, like for people who know me, I'm a tough fucking guy. Like, I am a tough fucking guy. So,
This is part of the reason we started the podcast to begin with, right? Because Ryan and I realized there was a time where we would just talk about these things privately, and I was like, you know, there are probably a lot of people who are going through similar things, and you know, just hearing other people talk about shit is nice, right? And especially when people you see who you kind of hold in this particular standard, is cool to hear about these things, you know? A lot of us in here love watching sports. I remember when, for those of you who remember, I think it was a couple NBA athletes came out talking about, like DeRozan, Kevin Love, they talked about like mental health and like anxiety at their level. And people often forget that even they can feel it, right? Honestly, I thought about the fact that when Isaiah Thomas's sister died, and like the next day he went out to the playoff game and dropped like 40 points or something like that, right? And he did that for her. So it's just like, you know, there's strong people everywhere, and I hope that by us doing what we're doing and like disclosing to you guys some of the things that we do, that you don't walk away from tonight, you know, feeling sorry for us in any way, but instead you realize how strong we are, but also how strong all of you are as well. So, you know, thanks for coming out tonight, guys. We love you all. We appreciate it.
Play the music, please. Get this Zach shit out of here.
Hello? We need to talk.
We need to talk.
We need to talk. We need to talk. We need to talk.